Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the InkPod podcast. Sean and I are super excited about this one. This is
Yeah.
when podcasts collide. We got Dylan, the OG of the apparel decoration podcast industry. He's got a podcast called Shirt Show, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of before. And he's also the owner of Upstate Merch. Dylan, thanks for joining, buddy.
Hell yeah, dudes. Yeah, like I said, I just recorded a
Dylan,
2-hour podcast for Shirt Show right before this, so I'm ready. I'm already in it. I'm ready to go.
You're in the groove? I was gonna say maybe you're strung out and everything you had to say is gone. It could work
now
both
I just
ways,
want to rage.
Right?
It's so nice to be the guest. So just whatever you guys want to do, let's do.
Let's do it. So Dylan, for our audience that may not have heard of you before, do you mind just introducing yourself a little bit? Talk about some of the businesses that you're into and kind of how you got into the industry.
My name is Dylan Gilligan. I am the owner of Upstate Merch. I have been doing this since I was 17 years old. I am 37 now. I got into it by doing 1-inch buttons. I started off, I was in a band. I made 1-inch buttons kind of by accident. That turned into, holy shit, I can make a business out of this. And then I outsourced t-shirts and stickers, and I started selling way more t-shirts than anything else. I started really doing big numbers in t-shirts for the company I was outsourcing to, and they were like, hey, how about I buy your button company and move you to Georgia? So I moved to Georgia for 2 years. I did sales for them. No offense to people who live in Georgia, but I couldn't take it at all. So I was like, I'm going to move back home to New York. I moved back in 2009 and hit the ground running right away with Upstate Merch. I have been doing Upstate Merch ever since. We just this year turned 15 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, that's where we're at, man. And then just before COVID, I had decided, hey, we're all sitting around doing nothing. Let's start a screen printing podcast. So I've been doing Shirt Show now for about 4 years. So yeah, that's me.
It's like in the 200s or something, right? You
got
like over 200 episodes or something,
I
right?
don't even know, dude. Two something, yeah, it's up there. 220 something, 230. I can't remember.
Yeah, one of our.
And you're doing this you're doing this with Andy, right? From
ShirtCon.
Con.
Yeah, I had done
Andy
Upstate
do a
Merch
lot.
one. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I had done a podcast before that. It was just like the Upstate podcast where I had done 20 episodes that were very similar to Shirt Show as far as like interviewing other print shops and creatives. Like I didn't just do screen printing. I did like artists and designers and everything. And then I did about 20 episodes, which I considered like a season. And then me and Andy had kind of like always talked on the phone about shop stuff and what was going on in our lives and what was going on in the industry. It got to the point where we were just like, why don't we, like, other people would gain something from the 2-hour conversations we're having with each other on the phone. So we were like, let's just do this together. And then I kind of dropped the Upstate thing and then just went with Shirt Show. And yeah, it was fun to do a podcast with a buddy, basically.
Yeah.
And it was weekly therapy, so.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I really look forward to doing it. I can say it's definitely hard to be consistent, you know, and it always seems like we're scrambling to get the next episode done for the next week. We're always like, oh, let's just find like a week and bang out 4 or 5 episodes, so we always have like a nice buffer. Because like last week we missed it. Like I was slammed. I was on the road. You know, Sean's busy with his POD business popping off. So it's really hard to be consistent. So props to you for doing that many. Do you ever miss any weeks, or you guys?
We have not missed a Monday.
Wow, look at that, eh?
Yeah, it's important. Can't miss one now. And I've only ever missed one episode. And the only reason why I missed it is because I was in Mexico. And I just feel like I can't miss one now. It's tradition. I have to do it. So
yeah, Sean went to Italy for 3 weeks.
I went to Italy for 3 weeks. I had, my wife was like, no, it's not happening. No way.
Yeah.
So I had to miss 3 weeks. But
it's okay. And I missed a couple too, so we balanced out. But we're on a roll now. We've been pretty consistent.
Good. Hell yeah.
And since doing it for the last 4 years, I'm lucky. I talk to my brother. He's right here on the side, like every single day. So that's like kind of like my therapy, right? But you and Andy, you've been doing it for 4 years, and you had the chance to have a lot of people in the industry come in and like talk their current state and like where they are in the market. Has it shifted your mentality of like what's possible, what's realistic for you and the opportunity you can go and achieve? Or is it just more like knowledge based that you found?
It's weird because it's one of those things where like it started off as interviewing people to just get their story, but then I mean, I'd already been doing it for a good amount of time by then, and I knew what my shop was or whatever. But like, at almost every guest, I take something away and be like I could apply this to me now, or this is resonating with my current situation, or whatever. And we had done shop hacks for forever as well, and it was always cool to like have one that you hadn't heard before, and you're like, oh, cool, let me try this out at my shop. So there is a huge benefit to talking to another shop for there's a while where we were doing like 3-hour episodes, and there's just so much to absorb after having a detailed conversation with somebody about their entire career basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of personal takeaways from doing the show. That's why I said for me, like, I'm not just doing it to be this guy who like does it and like just pushes information out. Like, it's just as much for me as it is for people who listen every week. Like, I
For
crave
sure.
having it every week.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's one
we
of the
try
things I
and get,
realized the most
yeah,
since doing
yeah,
it.
we try and get like a mix of like suppliers on there, and like every time that I'm on there, I learn a lot. And even for me, I mean, obviously, I'm on the sales side of things. It becomes a really strong like sales tool. So like if I have Keith Perkins, and he's talking about Satya emulsion, and I have a shop who like wants to try and get his darkroom better dialed in, I'll just send the podcast. Or for guys looking at Tajima or Romaki, I'll be like, watch this podcast. And for me, it's like the easiest transfer of knowledge. If not, I'm just like a parrot, man, just having the same conversations. I mean, right now, Mamaki DTFs, I got 7 of them wrapped up to go out. So, like, I'm having 4 or 5 conversations a day about Mamaki DTF. And I'd be repeating the same thing over and over. And now I'm just like, hey, listen, I know you're interested in this. I really want to educate you so you can make a good decision. Watch this podcast. You'll learn everything you need to know about DTF, and then we'll talk afterwards. And it's so much easier now, like to be able to actually explain things to them and get right to the point. So for me, it's been super, super useful. A lot of your guests, it seems like you're very like shop focused. Is that the majority of the people you have on there, like other screen print shops?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, like we have shops for sure. And I think the important thing to have with shops is, there's no shop that's not worthy of being on the show. Like somebody, like I just had someone on that's a year old, like a year into business, and we have people that are like, oh, I've done this for 30 years. Like, there is something to be said for every type of printer and every like form of where they are, because we've all done the same thing, big or small, and you learn from somebody who just started out to somebody who's been doing it for 30 years. And it's always good to have the perspective. And I think for the listeners too, it's industry focused, like almost like TV, where they hear someone saying their story and they're like, oh, I did this and then I burned my shop down and then I did this, and they're like, oh my god, I remember I almost burnt my shop down. And like it's just it's nice to hear
It's
like
relatable.
yeah, it's super relatable, and it's nice to hear other people's stories. We definitely have like you know like SNS and Chromaline and all these other types of people on there, but it's more for the education of the specific thing that they're offering, that
Yeah.
we look at it as what can we give the audience that they didn't already know. So like if we talk to Kevin, it's like, hey, let's talk about, everyone's heard everything about darkrooms like EOM and how to burn a screen. Like I don't want that. I want like, what's some shit that like because you've been doing this for 15 years versus the
Yeah.
dude who just works in the darkroom. Like that's what I want. I want the like, oh, try this trick, or coat with a 1-to-1, but you're using a sharpen around, or like just different stuff that's not the day to day. Like, oh, well, do this for 2 minutes and then take it out and dip it in water. It's like everybody's heard this shit. Like
Yeah.
that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. You want to hear like, you know, hey, here's the dip tank, but I put the chemical in before the water, and now it's overflowing, and like, what do I hell do I do? Like, how to actually fix weird problems that you're having in production that you can't just find from like reading a technical data sheet or something online, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you. And right now, production wise, I mean, you're a big M&R shop. Have you always been with M&R?
Yeah, ever since our last manual that we had before we went M&R was my like go-to like holy grail manual, which was the Sidewinder at the time. And then we got a 6.8 Sportsman, and we were like, all right, cool, we made it. We're an auto shop, and this was years ago now. And at that time, I had thought, like, we got to the point where you're like, okay, I need to get another machine or whatever, because we were working till 9 o'clock every night. You and your buddies are here till 5, and you're like, I got an auto, cool. Now we're working till 3, and we've got some flexible time. And then a year goes by, and the auto is working till 9 o'clock, and you're like, shit, I need another machine so that we can get back to working at 5 o'clock till 5 o'clock again. So at that time, I was like, oh, I just need an overflow press. Like, it doesn't need to be this like expensive unit. So I bought a Workhorse Sabre. So my second auto was a Sabre, which is basically a Sportsman. Like, it's set up exactly the same. Like, it's almost identical press, just different manufacturers. So by having that press, we were like noticing differences between the two, and like, no shade against Workhorse. They were awesome. Like, honestly, some of the best customer service I've ever had in the industry, it was from Workhorse. And then, so we were running two autos there, and then almost all of our clientele wanted like a 12 or a 14 color print. So then we were like, all right, let's get the G3. So we sold the Workhorse, we got the G3, and then the G3 has been like our go-to press ever since. The Sportsman obviously still does a ton of stuff, but the Gauntlet has been the workhorse for well, yeah, the new workhorse, for sure. And then a couple years later, we added another Sporty. So yeah, we have the 3 autos. I love M&R. I've had a crush on M&R since I was a manual screen printer. Hey, dude, it's a love affair. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's the backbone of your business.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like, I don't know how you guys were when you were teenagers, but like for me, I was into like BMX and music and stuff, and for me, it was like getting the monthly newsletter, or like the Dance Comp magazine, where I could go through and be like, oh, here's the new bikes, here's the new shoes, whatever. And you would always look through stuff like that and get your wish list items. Well, another thing for me was like, when I got into screen printing, was the same kind of thing. Like, you're looking through and you're like, oh, these are my print heroes, and they're printing with M&R. Like all the ones I really looked up to were printing with M&R. So like my whole point of view was, when I get an M&R press, I've made it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm one of them. Like, I'm in that crew. So for me, I got all the blue stuff, and then I fortunately got to hang out and be on, doing some projects with Rich Hoffman before he left M&R. So I was happy to like get involved with the industry stuff. And then ever since then, I've done like, I do a ton of stuff for them. It's not like it's more me wanting to do stuff for them, not like, oh, we have a business relationship, because that's not what it is at all. It's literally like, hey, Dylan, do you want to go travel to visit some of these shops and like give us your point of view? I'm like, fuck yes, I will go.
Yeah.
Like,
why not?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Like, I want to see these shops that don't normally let people in, and be like, hey, what do you want to know? And I'm like, okay, cool, kid in a candy store, like, show me how this works, show me what you're doing over here. Like, it's been amazing, so I'm happy to do so.
And Andy's M&R shop too. I remember.
Yeah, these shops are
the
massive.
First time I came across Andy, I think he had just gotten like the brand new Cobra, and he shot a whole bunch of videos around it, and that's when his business had first come to light for me. And he's got a similar number of autos, 3 or something.
Yeah, he's at 3 autos. Andy was the beta shop for the Cobra. It wasn't called the Cobra when he had it, and they ended up changing the name. But yeah, he put a lot of work into that press to show like, hey, this is, this would work good. This won't necessarily work so good. So him and his team and Kyle put a lot of hours into tweaking that thing and getting it ready. And then, yeah, the Cobra came out, and that's kind of something like us with the shirt show have been like really big into, is like giving honest opinions and honest feedback. And it's not necessarily about team blue or team green or whatever. It's like what works and what doesn't work and what is giving us the best results and the quality prints and whatever. So people trust his word to be like, hey, this Cobra's sweet. Like it's the best new press for what I need it for, and they, I mean, from what I've heard, they've sold a shitload of Cobras. So,
But yeah, I mean, from firsthand experience, like anyone that has the budget, they go Cobra. I mean, it's my top seller right now. People love it. I mean, look, obviously, if you want to go top of the line, the new Gauntlet's amazing.
The
But,
G4 is like,
yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
level.
Yeah, but for a lot of people, especially in Canada, it's just, it's priced too expensive, right? We don't have the same volume that you guys have in the States. But I mean, there's nothing that, I look at the Cobra for the average shop isn't like, kick ass. I love it. I do a lot of it. So, and
we just need
up
to
until
smuggle them
now,
over the border is all.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And as of right now, you're only doing screen printing. Is that correct? You're not doing any other decoration technology? Because I know you talked in your last episode, you were thinking about getting into embroidery, but you never got into like wide format or laser or anything like that. DTG, DTF.
No, I never got into DTG. I was always scared of the technology. And I say scared, I mean like I always felt it was something like screen printing was like a tangible thing that's like been around for forever. Like you're pulling ink through a screen. Like it's never going to go away. That technology, presses get faster and, new ways of doing things come out. But all in all, we're pulling ink through a screen. It's generally the same thing. With something like DTG, it was like, and someone like me who goes to a lot of the print shows, it was like every time I went to a different show, they were like, oh, this is the new biggest, best version. And remember that version from last year? That's dog shit. Like the white ink
Yeah.
is way better now than it was 6 months ago. And it's like, why would I be incentivized to buy a $80,000 DTG machine when you're going to tell me in 6 months it's a complete piece of shit? Like,
Yep. You are 100% right. And I have this conversation all the time with my customers. When you get into the digital space, so like DTG, DTF, anything like that, wide format, even flatbed, it's one of those machines you got to make your money back on quick. You know what I mean? We're supporting brother DTG machines that are 15 years old. So we'll still support it. But now the machine, like the resolution is so much better. It's, 4 times faster. Ink is a third the price, has expanded color gamut. So being in the digital space that I was in, we would have to buy a machine and be like, yo, we got to make our money back on this like quick. You know what I mean? And then still have time for it to be profitable. Because you're right. Every, brother releases things a little bit slower, but maybe every 5-6 years they have a big change of a platform. Whereas something like screen printing, I mean, I have a client right now. I just sold him a new Sportsman just down the street from me. We're installing it this week, and he had a Sportsman that he bought in like, I think it was like in the late 90s or something, and he was still running it literally until he was supposed to have the press down so I could install
Yeah.
the new one. And my guy showed up to start installing it, and he's still running a job on the old press. So it kind of pissed me off. But it's just
that's what I mean. That's the
yeah.
truth of it. Is it's a testament to if you take care of the equipment, you do the service, and you treat it like what it is. It's basically a money printing machine. If you take care of it, that thing will run forever. Like if you change the valves, you grease it, you clean it, and you do the maintenance you're supposed to do, that thing will literally run for forever. There's no like, oh, this won't be able to print T-shirts next year. Like
No, you're
it'll
right.
print shirts for forever as long as you take care of it. So that's why I've kind of always stuck with the screen printing thing. And plus I just love it and I like getting involved with it and whatever. But we do other stuff. Like we do like vinyl like everybody else for like names and numbers. And we recently, I'd say recently, but I don't know, 2 years ago or a year ago, whatever, got pretty hard into DTF, ordering it from other places. But the first year I would say was me doing a ton of testing. Like I ordered DTF from probably every place I knew that could print it. And we had a screen print that we made, like a high color screen print. And then I would order that same design in DTF and I would just press everything. I tried 10 different post press fabrics. And then we got it to the point where we were like, okay, cool. Not ordering from here, not ordering from here. This place is pretty cool in a pinch. This place overseas is rules. and we got it down to where it was like, okay, here's our like 2 or 3 places we would feel comfortable using. And then even we have our like diamond status place that we want to use. um I feel like it's like monthly. They're like, oh, we've got a better white now. We've got a better, like, colors are more opaque, like
Yeah.
softer
Phil.
hand feel. Everything's more
Yeah.
matte. Like it falls into the fabric more. So like it's literally like in the showroom we have one where like, oh, this is our example for DTF. It looks good, feels good, everything's great. And then a month later they're like, hey, everything's better. We're literally swapping them out and just being like, here's the newest
Wow.
one. Here's the newest one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how fast that technology is changing, which is making me do the same thing with DTG, where I'm like, I'm not coming anywhere near touching it. I'm not buying it. I'm just going to buy it from this place because they're doing the R&D. They're figuring out the best way to print, the best powders, the best whatever. And I'm just going to, when I will buy one is when it's like 5 years consistently of the same method of making it. Like
Yeah.
nothing has been updated or changed. It's like, cool, we figured this out now. That's when I feel comfortable. Me personally, I don't want to knock people away from buying machines, but like, you're the fucking
I
sales
got
guy, and I'm here telling people not to buy it. But
No, I
I
get
got
it.
7, so I'm on the opposite, right? I'm like, hey, I love DTF and I'm jumping on the bandwagon because I feel there's a massive opportunity.
mhm.
And on the other side, I want to control the quality that we output and produce, right? So if I'm doing the R&D on my own and I'm making my color profiles better and I'm buying new powder that maybe it's a bit thinner, I'm putting them in the oven, curing them just a bit longer because they might be a bit more tacky, and when I press them, they might come out a little bit more matte. Then I mean that's all on us, right? So at least I can have that consistently go month after month if I want to. So that was more my mentality. I mean, the cost of the machines in my mind, it was so low with the volume that we had
Ye-
that was like we're painting
yeah,
that machine in 3 to 4 weeks, right? So like,
think
what's
that
the
I think
biggest risk?
that's a big thing for the pro side, is that the cost of the machine really isn't that much. Like, it's not that big a deal. But the nice part about it is that if you have the market where you're trying to get stuff out instantly, or hey, I got in a bunch of store orders and they came out last night, I can literally print them tomorrow and they're out the door. Like, that's a huge bonus. But that's not my market. My market is not,
Exactly.
hey, I need this tomorrow. Yours is, and that's like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, I have friends that have the same thing. Like Campus Ink. Like, they're doing all these like stores and whatever, and Steven's like, yeah, I have to have these machines. Like, I can't not go the other route. Like, I have to have them because I have to print and ship the same day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
And
makes sense.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and a lot of screen printers, they often have that perspective. Like a lot of screen printers, up until recently, I'd say in the last 3 4 years, where they've really jumped into digital. But a lot of screen printers are like, I like a machine. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to pass it on to my kids. It's going to work all the time. If not, I'll learn. It's got a personality. I'm going to become this machine's going to become part of the family, and I'm going to know, hey, this is how I take care of it. And every machine's got its own personality. And I see that same crossover in mentality with embroidery. And I also find that guys that are serious into screen printing, embroidery is like the perfect complement because, same clientele, right? Same mentality. For example, consumables on screen printing, super cheap. You're talking pennies per shirt. Same thing with embroidery. 6,000 stitches, you're looking at like, 2.5 cents USD or something like that. So it fits that same type of persona, embroidery to screen printing, and I think it perfectly complements the business, right? So like, what's your hang up? Like, why have you not jumped into embroidery yet? Like, are you overthinking it? Are you scared? Like, man, there's just so much needles and things moving. Like, what is it that's hasn't
I'm
gotten
just
you to
so
jump in
afraid of
yet?
needles that I won't get into embroidery. Um, no, I I think that it's one of those things where it is super complimentary. It's like it goes hand in hand. Like, almost every other order could be like, I need 500 shirts, but I also need 12 polos or something. And that is the case, but I feel like also it's a whole nother world of expertise. Like, you can't be a screen printer and be like, I'm flawless on the embroidery. Like, it's two different skill sets. And the reason why I haven't done it is because, not that I'm scared to get into it, because if that was the case, I probably would have bought it years ago. I literally have a shop across the street who does nothing but embroidery. Like it just worked
Makes
out
sense.
in my location where literally there's one road. I'm on this side, she's on the other side, and she only does embroidery, and we're right next to each other. So for years and years, every order I got for embroidery, I just outsourced to her. I literally walk it across the street and then bring it back, and that's it. There's no reason for me to bring in embroidery in house. The problem is like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or something now, she came in my office and was talking to me and was like, "Hey, I want to retire. I want to give you first dibs. Do you want to buy my embroidery stuff?" And then I was like, "Fuck!" Like I never wanted to do this. Like I never wanted to get into it. I had a good relationship, all was well, and now I feel like it's dumb not to because it's so close. The machines are good. She wants to be able to train us for a month, like with her expertise on whoever I hire. It seems like a no brainer. But again, I look at it as like, cool, I can run my screen printing and just focus on that and not have to worry about anything else. Now I'm like, cool, now I have to bring embroidery in house and then teach somebody that, and then go down the road of R&D with that. And from what I've talked to from everybody, and also we talked a little bit about it too, is just like the margins are great, it's a no-brainer, you're gonna sell it, it's gonna fill up, it's gonna be this whole thing. I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know, it's something I've not wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
working before. Like why bother? But now I'm forced to be like, if I say no to her, then I have to outsource to somebody that I have to ship stuff to, and I don't want to do that.
Well, to your point, I was gonna say like, I didn't know that you contracted out embroidery. So one of my follow up questions, like, hey, like, don't you have that fear if you're a screen print shop and not offering embroidery that they're gonna find an embroidery shop that also does screen printing and lose that business? So, and that's what a lot of my customers, they fall into. It's like, no, we only want to do screen printing, but then they'll lose their biggest customers because sometimes there's a job that has, a bunch of screen printed shirts and they have hats, and it's annoying to handle that extra layer of logistics with dealing with two shops. So if two shops are offering similar pricing, similar quality, and it's in one shop, they're always going to get that business, right? But yeah, that makes sense that you had kind of outsourced that, and you offered it to your customers, so it's not like you lost that business.
Well, yes and no.
Now,
We only offered it. We never have it on the website. It's not like something we promote. It's not like, hey, we do screen printing, embroidery, and banners, and this and this and this. We just say, like, if you go to our stuff, it's just screen printing. It's like, hey,
yeah,
we'll print your shirts, whatever. But like I said, every other order is like, hey, I want to order T-shirts, but also I need, do you do beanies too? Like, it's always the question of like, do you do
yeah,
this? Because I would need some. And we would just say, yeah, like we'd figure it out. If someone came to us and was like, hey, I need T-shirts and stickers, I'm not going to say, hey, I'll do your T-shirts, but you can go fuck yourself with the stickers. I'm like, yeah, I know a guy. I'll send it to them, or I'll outsource it. Or if it's something I don't want to handle, I'm like, hey, my good buddy Sean will do this for you, or whatever. So I'm
yeah.
just here to help them out. Like, I'm not here to just say no to everything and be like, I'm only doing printing and you can figure the rest out on your own.
Sure. I want to pose
I
Sean
think
a
that's a fair
question
point.
because yeah, I want to
Yeah.
ask Sean a question because I think that this will be interesting for you. Because when I look at screen printing, like it's complex. Like I go in shops that have been printing for 30 years, they still don't know how to print. You know what I mean? And you could have 10 guys with the same machine, same inks, and you're gonna get different qualities. So this question's for Sean, but I think Dylan will kind of find it interesting. If you were to like put a difficulty number from 1 to 10, and you're comparing screen printing to embroidery, right? Start to finish, you're new to this, you have no help whatsoever, you're doing it all internally. What would you say the skill level is between the two to really
Well, I
get
mean,
good at it?
yeah, screen printing is extremely hard. It takes years. Embroidery, if you find you're right, like a good digitizer on the first run, dude, you're dialed. That's it. The only thing you need to find is like only thing you need to really have is graphic source. That's it. I mean, they stitch out everything before you even do it. So you send out the digitizing file, like the artwork to be digitized. They digitize it out and they send you a proof on a cap of the actual embroidery, and they change the threads and tell you which thread they use. They tell you which stabilizer to use, what needle they used, the speed they ran the machine. It's like it brings everything to like dummy stupid. That's it. Like you put it in a machine, you push start, and it goes. But I mean, if you go that route, and you pay a bit more for your digitizing. It's so simple. But when I started, I went the route of like, oh, I'm gonna save $5 per digitized artwork, and I went to like outsourcing in China. Dude, that was hell. That was like the machine.
Yeah.
I thought it was shit, to be honest. The machine would stop constantly. We would get thread breaks. The quality wasn't good because there was way too much density. And I was like, hey, I want more density because I'm not seeing the thread to be like the edge perfect. It's because there was way too much. It wasn't done properly. Um, so when Nick helped me out, I was like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's extremely simple. You just have to have a good digitizer. And I would not do it in-house. It's definitely not worth it.
And
But
I
that's
tell
my
customers
2 cents.
I tell customers that all the time. And like if you were to take that analogy into screen printing, that's like you having
Dude,
a company that comes in, they shoot all your screens, they set them up for you on press in the right order. They pre-mix, they get your ink warmed up so it's nice to print. And then all you got to do is have a guy that just literally loads it on the press and presses the button. Like it's literally what it is, right? It takes all the thinking out of it.
that's a big part of what graphics does, even for screen printing. Like you can ask them to separate your stuff and do things. And you can even tell them the screens you have, the tensions you're running, what's not acceptable for you, what's acceptable, your halftone, the way you want to run them. You can tell them the ink, like specialty inks you have. If you're running reducers, fashion base, matte, water base, HSA, any type of ink. They've had so many specialist people that worked overseas in large factories that have that knowledge that they can pretty much tell you if you want to have like this print and achieve that result, this is what you need to do. Then, I mean, you can go in your dark room and fuck up the OM, fuck up your tension and all that, but that's on you. At least they gave you a great guideline
Yeah.
to
They
run
give you
it.
a
So
roadmap.
that's why, yeah, they gave you a roadmap, and um, so I think it makes it a lot simpler for people just starting too for screen printing. I mean, if you're doing a manual, like you have a manual press, is it going to be that big of a difference? I don't think so. But if as soon as you have an auto, I think, I mean, it's helped us tremendously. And I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
I
it's
don't
one of
get
those.
discounts, but
I think it's one of those things like screen printing. You're never gonna be, you're never gonna be the expert at it. You're always gonna learn. There's always new things to learn. There's always new inks. There's new techniques. And that's why I think a lot of it is where you're kind of, do I get into, do I do flat stock printing? Do I do, wide format where I'm printing banners and all this other stuff? It's like, I just want to focus on this thing. Like, I want to be really, really good at this thing, be known for this. And there's more than enough money to be made in that. But now that I'm in all these talks about embroidery with people, they're saying the same thing. They're like, "Oh, embroidery is so much easier to manage. It's so much easier to set up and all this." And it makes me feel comfortable. And again, I'm super close with Nick too, and the guys at Graphic Source, where I feel comfortable. If I got into it, I'd be like, "Hey, you guys handle this. I just want your roadmap and to move forward." So it's awesome to hear Sean say, the good things about that. I already knew that was the case, but it's good to hear out of somebody's mouth who's using it day in and day out.
Yeah. And
it's
Dylan,
it
if you
helped.
want to take it one step further, and I don't know how much research you've already done into like embroidery machines and the technologies behind it. Like I don't know what type of machines they're running at the shop that you might, potentially pick up.
Yeah, they were
But
Tajimas. I don't
yeah,
know the
great.
specifics, but
Yeah, so for example, even within Tajima now, right? They have the standard like TFMX series, which is probably what they have, or some previous generations, which is similar technology to like what's in a Beriting, right? In terms of quality wise, I'd say they're very on point. But if you look at, for example, the Tajima TMEZ, that's where it will completely smoke any machine on the market. And for a beginner, it's huge because it takes out that last bit of skill that's involved in someone actually operating the machine. So, for example, they'll have like the digital presser foot and auto thread tension. So the first needle comes down, it detects like the thickness of the garment and automatically adjusts all the tensions. So you could literally not have that challenge of having somebody go there manually for every single garment type and adjusting the tensions and hoping that they got it right. If not, they're going to get a thread break, right? And that's why, you'll take this machine. Yeah, it costs 20% more, let's say, than the standard series, but like you'll get 50% more output on hats and, like 37% more output on flats. And that's when it really becomes a game changer. So that's one thing that you want to consider when you're looking at technology. It's like, yeah, a Tajima, dude, it's going to run 20, 25 years, right? But if you just want it simple, quick, turnkey, boom, we're flying, and put out quality that you'll be able to probably smoke what she's doing right now if you had a TMZ in-house, right? So it's just an advantage of a technology that nobody else has. So that's something that you want to, take into account. That really makes it what I call simple stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
So
I'm definitely
let,
down with simplifying.
let me give you the non-sales pitch, right? This sales pitch. If you have a really,
He's in the States. I can't sell a machine
dude,
even if I wanted to.
no, but I'm just gonna be straight with you. I'm gonna be straightforward. If you have a really, really good embroidery person that knows like the ins and out of it, has been doing it for years, you can get the same quality without a TMUZ, right? Because she's gonna be really good with her tensions and know exactly what she needs to do on what certain type of fabric and whatnot. But if you don't have that like dedicated person, that expert, and you just want to hire somebody and put them there and teach them the basis, you get a machine that has the auto tension on it and everything. Dude, it's like we have both machines in the shop, and it's simple for the new person, the new hire to use the machine that has auto tension because the quality is outstanding. It does it automatically, right? The girl on the other machine that she's using a TME T Mark, I think, which is a great machine as well. But she has to like adjust like the tension and everything. She's slower, but she's been doing this for 16 years. But it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
like
but
it's
I think
but
at the
Sean,
end of the day, technology does make a difference.
to your point though, the T mark that you have already is not the standard Tajima because that has the
No,
digitally
yeah,
controlled presser foot. So it's like that in between model between the two, right? So there's already
exactly.
an advantage
Yeah,
there, right? Yeah.
yes, but she's still slower.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course you will be.
I think the thing with that though is it's kind of like depending on the way the market is and what you're trying to do in your shop. Like I'm going to take this back to screen printing because that's what I know more is we invest in our dark room where we're like, hey, I want to go with laser, I want to go with autocoder, I want to go with all these automations like auto reclaim.
Same thing.
And the reason is you want to go with those machines over a cheaper version or over a older version that might not have that technology is the labor market now. Like, yeah, you have that girl who's been doing it for 16 years, but what if that girl who's been doing it for 16 years is like, fuck this place, I quit, and leaves? I can hire Joe
Exactly.
Schmo off the street to walk in and hit 3 green buttons, and my screens are coated, my screens are burned, and my screens are cleaned. So I get Zach's point of like, hey, any monkey can come in and do this embroidery, and I get Sean's point of you don't need that big baller machine that Zach's selling everybody in Canada. You can get the middle of the road one as long as you have skilled labor. But it kind of need to meet in the middle too as an owner and be like, yeah, it would be sweet to have the nice toy that does it for you, but also, what's doable and can you make quality with what you already have? So I think there's plus or minuses to both. It's just if I had no machines and I had to start fresh right now and Zach's telling me I can get a machine where I don't need someone with 15 years experience to play with tensions, I'd probably buy the nicer machine because then I don't have to worry about it if that person decides to quit or that person gets hit by a bus or whatever, the next person can come in and do it. But if I'm like, hey, I've got a staff of like 10 people who run embroidery, 5 people that run
Totally.
embroidery, one of them quits, I still got 4 that know what they're doing.
Yep, yep. And I have clients, for example, that are skilled embroiderers. They have all the TFMX machines already, right? And they definitely have the budget to buy the TMEZ, no problem. Like they're making bank, but they're like, for me, there's no value add there. And
Right. They
Dylan, for
have all the
yourself,
people to do it already. They don't need that special machine.
totally. And to your point, like, that shop you have, you might get the equipment at a great price. So you have to ask yourself, like, hey, am I going to get that same level of ROI in my capital investment that I would off this used equipment as buying new? And another thing too, like Dylan, are you going to be picking up any staff, or is she like a one-person show, or you're getting some staff with the
I'd have
retirement?
to hire somebody that she trains.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
See, again, I don't want to kick you in the dick, Zach,
No, no,
but it
I'm wearing a
to me
jock.
I look at a lot of this stuff in screen printing and embroidery and all these other places where the manufacturers come out and they're like, hey, I've got this new sweet add-on tool or this other thing. I look at it a lot like kitchen gadgets. where it's like there's 900 kitchen gadgets to like fucking peel an avocado. And it's like, dude, you need a knife and a cutting board, or you need like a butter knife to do it. It's like, why do I need 900 tools to do the same job if I just put my mind to it and use a fucking butter knife? So again, not trying to kick you in the dick, but like,
no, I
some
get
new
it.
tools have revolutionary technology where it's like, yeah, this is a no-brainer, and some are like, this is just a new feature. It's like the iPhone where they're like, buy the iPhone 15, and it's like, what's different? You changed the color. Like, why do I need to buy a new one?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, like, I agree. But, like I've, peeled many of avocados in my life. I have no problem doing it. But if my 6-year-old son wants to open up his first avocado, I'm not going to give him a sharp knife. He's going to get that tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
he's going to get the Avocado 3000 that he pushes a button and it peels it and slices it and puts it on his sandwich.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I'm going to pay for it.
Exactly.
Man, that's funny. That's good.
There's one thing that you keep saying that really hit to me like in the podcast is like you're always going back to screen printing and this is what you know, this is what you do, and there's plenty of money for you to do this and I completely agree. But then like for me on my side, I'm always looking at where can we go bigger? Where can we grow more, right? That's the
Yeah.
vision that we've had, and we've always had that, right? Since I started, I was like, I don't want to be a small screen print shop, and especially like in Canada, the market's a lot smaller, right, compared to the US. So there's always like, okay, what's the next opportunity? What's the next biggest thing that we can make? So like in the last year, we went balls to the walls with print on demand, DTF, embroidery, and like investing into new equipment, new software to be able to be automatic everywhere, automatize the whole system with barcodes, projectors, everything. And
Mhm.
it made our shop like we double the revenue, but there's not more profit. Like the profit's going to come by
I
the
was
end of
gonna I
Christmas,
was gonna say
right?
that at
Because
the
it's
end of this.
Q4, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like Q4 is right here around the corner, and we're ready for it. And like it started. It started at the beginning of the week. We got like 7,500 shirts, like one-offs came in this week just for the holidays. So it's like it's going to be a game changer by the end of the year. But I'm just saying, when you're always looking at that new opportunity, maybe sometimes you're trying to run after something that maybe it's not there. And I guess it's scary because a lot of shop are like, hey, my sales are flat this year, right? So maybe that's where they're going into like, okay, maybe I'm going to look at something else. You've been in this for 15 years and you didn't jump on like the woman in the red dress, right? Alex Hormozy says this all the time, like
you're
the
giving
woman
me
in the
some
red
Inception
dress.
right now.
Yeah, it's like so like you're not jumping on it, right? How did you do it? Like how are sales? Or have they been stagnant for the last few years? What's the
No.
process? What's going through your mind?
Um. Well, this is kind of deep, but to go, let's just use shirt show as an example. So you were mentioning earlier, like, what do I get out of it versus what do the listeners get out of it, and so on. The one thing, and me and Andy had this as a question at the end of every episode to the guest that was on, and the question was always 2 presses or 10 presses. Without fail, every shop that was a large shop or a mid-range shop, or they had 5 autos, 10 autos, 14, 20, whatever, always said 2. Always. Because they would be like, you know what? I have 14 autos and I have this huge warehouse and I have 250 employees and everything else. And we were like, well, when did you have the most fun? And when did you make the most, like, when were you the most profitable? And they were like, when we were in my garage with 2 autos and 10 employees. Because they were fucking cruising, dude. They were in their market. They
I
were
see
in
that
their
all the
zone. They
time.
were printing shirts. They were happy. They went home at 5 o'clock. Like, life was good. They were doing what they were doing. And, I try to learn from these old dudes of like, hey, this, they got what I thought I wanted in the beginning. When I was saying my heroes were like M&R, and I would look in my first 5 years of business, I was like, I want to have 10 autos and I want a warehouse. And I always say this. I mean, Zach, you probably know from like going to shows and stuff too, where it's like you can tell like a craft, like not, I don't want to say craft, but like someone who cares about the craft of screen printing versus the person who's a business dude when their first question to you is, how many employees do you have and how many square foot is your building? It's like,
Yeah.
that is a fucking dick measuring contest question, and you can like go fuck yourself. Like I don't care about that question at all. What I care about is like care more to hear about the person who's like, hey, I'm doing 4 million, 5 million in revenue and I have 10 employees. Like that is way more of a flex to me than someone being like, I have 256 employees and 14 autos. And I'm like, that sounds like a nightmare because you have to feed the beast constantly. You're like, holy shit, we need more work. We need more work. And you know what happens when you need more work and you're worried about paying your employees? You're undercutting and you're like, well, I'll do that job for 5 cents less because I need that job. And if I don't have that job, I have to let go of 25 people. And that's what happens is they get to where they're like constantly feeding the beast and then they screw themselves and they go out of business. Where I'd rather be like, hey, my building's paid for, all my equipment's paid for, I have no debt at all. I roll into work in the morning and I fucking chill at my desk and I watch YouTube videos and I get to work and orders came in and everyone got paid and I go home at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my take on it. And I don't want to knock what you're saying where you're like, hey, I want to add things and grow, because it's just two different types of people. Like there's the people who are like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to offer all these things and you're going to fucking rule at it. You're going to succeed. Like one of my heroes in the industry that I was talking about before was like Jack Prince. And Jack Prince was one of those people that offered everything. They were like, hey, we literally print everything. And they were like, you guys are amazing. Like I idolize that shop. And if you can do it, awesome. But what I see more often than not is people that spread themselves too thin and they're like kind of good at all the things. They offer them all, but they're like kind of good at them all. And then it just kind of topples over after like 10, 15 years. Like I'd rather just be like, hey, we're that shop in town that prints really rad shit. And I'm going to be that old fucking 85-year-old guy, tattoos and my fucking van's showing up to work every day because I just like hanging out with my friends and playing video games. Like,
Yeah.
That's
And
the
to your-
difference.
To your point, I tell this to customers a lot, actually. I have customers that, they say, hey, I bought a single head embroidery machine and a Brother DTG machine or a Mackie DTF, and I'm doing really well and I'm in my house and, it's only been 1 year and I'm killing it. And then they're like, next year I want to go into like a 10,000 square foot facility and buy like $500,000 worth of equipment. And it's a tale of caution. I look at when I started my business and I had 2 Brother DTG machines in the garage, and we were the second company selling t-shirts on Etsy, and we crushed it. Like no overhead, no insurance payments, no employees, none of that crap. We had so much fun. Like we would print literally 24 hours a day through October, December. Me and my partners, we would take turns sleeping on the sofa. You get 4 hours, and then the other guy would tag and be like, get your ass up. And we had so much fun and we made so much money. And then we moved to this, big facility. Eventually it was 20,000 square feet. We had 30 brothers, cornettes and stickers and all this. And I never made that same amount of money that I did in the garage that first year. That first year was like super, super, super healthy, right? And it was the most fun. And I noticed screen print shops, like you said, when you have like 2 autos, you only have the capacity to print A, the stuff you want to print, and B, what's going to make you money. Once you start adding 4, 5, 6 autos, now you're at the point where, holy shit, I have the capacity to take these big contractors, and you're always having to make sure you're fully loaded, whatever that takes. Like you said, cutting prices, printing stupid shit in weird positions, or like high color jobs with low, print counts. You're having to take everything to keep you busy, and that's where the stress comes. Because now you got that, you're not printing for Joe's barbecue, restaurant, where if he gets the shirts on Friday, great, but if it's Monday, it's not the end of the world. Now you're in the league of the big contract printers, the hot market printing, deadlines kill you, and then that's where the stress, anxiety comes, the worry of like, shit, if I don't have a good month, no one here's making money. I'm lucky if I could keep everyone employed. It's just that mindset.
Sean, you're going to know this too as an owner, is like and I know what your answer is already, is like, I would 100% rather have the stress of being busy out my eyeballs than the stress of being like, we have nothing on the schedule tomorrow. Like any day of the week, I would rather be like, I am pulling my hair out, running around, like I'm working till midnight every night, than to hear someone come in my office and be like, what do you, like, are we working tomorrow? What are we doing? Like, I have nothing to do. Like, it instantly makes me feel like a failure. and it instantly makes me feel like my business isn't working. And to kind of go back to the other thing too is like I grew up kind of like a poor kid. Like I didn't really have a whole lot, and I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I can borrow money and this and whatever, and I abused it because I finally had the opportunity to buy some shit and I put it on credit, and then I screwed myself and I realized it, and I this was all when I was young, and I paid it all off, and I was like, never again. I never want to owe anybody a dime. I never want that feeling again of someone being like, hey, I need my money and I don't have it. I've had my car repoed before because I couldn't make the fucking payment. Like
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, never again. Like I never want to feel that again. So when I look at my shop and I bought the building, I bought all the equipment, I save my money till I can buy the thing, because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just going to go, like you were saying, the guys in the garage that are like, I want to have, 30 autos and this other thing and just go put it on credit and the work's just going to show up. Nah, dude. Like I would be white. I would have no hair. I'd have no fingernails. Like I don't want that stress. I want to walk in and be like when COVID happened, like I didn't plan for this, but when COVID happened, I was good. I could have been like, cool, let's take 4 months off. Like
Yeah.
everything's paid. If nobody's here, I have no expenses. Like there's no payroll, there's no electric bill, there's no whatever. I'd just be like, see you guys. But like the people who work here need the paycheck. I could have just
Yep.
been like, all right, I'm good. Like, see ya.
Yeah.
And that's respectful, and that's something that to look up to in the sense like there's so much opportunity out there in market, and like the women in the red dress, like I was saying, that to be able to say no and be reasonable and wait and work hard to stack that money and be like, yeah, I'm gonna pay this, it's gonna be clear, it's gonna be mine. So when whatever time comes, you're good. It's something to take home and learn from. But like it's hard to do when you see the opportunity, you see the market, and it's just like, oh, there's a new DTF, there's a new embroidery machine, there's a new this. I can offer this to my customers. Oh, we can also do patches. UV DTF came out. We can offer this for print on demand. Like you're always in a constant battle of like, how are we growing this thing? But at a certain point, it's like if you just do what you do well, you're going to grow automatically, right?
But I think
So it's
the
gonna
hard
it's gonna grow with time.
that's the hard part. That's hard to swallow because it is easier to say, well, I could offer stickers because the market's there. I'm going to make money. But it's never that easy. It's always getting the machine, realizing, oh, the printhead's screwed this. And actually, a bunch of screen printing jobs came in, and now I don't have time to fuck around with the stickers. And then it just ends up collecting dust, and you're like, cool, I'm glad I bought all that equipment because I never have time to focus on it. I've done that too, where like stuff comes along, and when we were big in the band world, I was like, you know what I want to make is I want to make a like an online fulfillment store thing. And this was before like all the automated stuff. I made one, and you know what? It crashed and burned hard because I did not have the time to focus every bit of energy into it. I was spread thin between a bunch of other things. So what is actually easier to do, but it doesn't look easy at the time, is to, like you said, Sean, if you were really good at, say, like what's your top niche market for screen printing?
Right?
Like is
Screen
it
printing for
yeah.
us, it's businesses, brick and mortars.
Okay, so brick and mortars. So say you were really great at pitching to them and walking in, or focusing on them or whatever. If you got rid of everything else and you just sat in your office all day, or you took trips to go to trade shows for these specific types of businesses, you would crush at, like, you would have so much business for your 2-3 autos because you were focused on that shit all day every day. You weren't thinking about, I got to go make stickers, or I got to buy DTF machines, I got to do this. Like, you would have work coming out of your eyeballs because every day 9 to 5 was you focusing on that thing. So it's actually more profitable and makes more sense to just do that thing that you're personally passionate about than to be like, well, I see money here, I see money here, I see money here. Like, I know people that are in business like this that are like, yeah, I own a screen printing business, and I own a laundromat, and I own a this thing, and I own a this thing, and I'm doing this thing. I'm like, how the fuck? Like, your brain cannot
Yeah.
be in all of them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
It's impossible.
understand. They have to all be slacking somewhere. Like, it looks impressive to be like, I own 95 fucking restaurants or something. And it's like, yeah, but you're not in any of them. Like, I don't understand.
No, 100%. And like for us, like you see the car wrap company in the back, right? That's the company I started with my father 15 years ago. And we call it the tugboat, right? Because it's been stable for the last fuck 10 years, right? So it's bringing in cash every year, and that's just what pulls and allowed me to invest in print tees and dream. But it's also been like the scary part because it was the possibility that we could invest and go bigger than we needed, right? So like, all right, let's invest into a bigger order that we can because we can. But it's like,
Right.
why?
But
So it was always like,
let me ask you this though. You said it was you and your dad who did the wraps and stuff, right?
yep,
When you
yep,
guys decided to get into screen printing and everything, did your
I
dad
was the
stay
only
in the
one.
wraps and then you went
My
into screen
dad,
printing?
yeah.
But
So
that's what I'm
now it's
saying.
my
That
brother.
works because there's a focus
Yes,
on this and there's a focus on this.
$100%.
If you owned the wrap thing and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna get into screen printing, they both would
Nope.
have suffered.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, right? So my dad takes care of all that. My brother came in 4 years ago, and he's all like he takes care of all the finances for both businesses, and he takes care of like the marketing side of like at Facebook ads, things like that. And I'm the creative guy to like, okay, where's the business going to go, and how can we scale this print on demand side? Because I've always dreamed of doing like print on demand since I've started. So I wanted to do stores and I wanted to do screen
But
printing, and then I
it's your thing, it's your passion, it's what you're driven to. That's what I'm saying.
exactly,
You have that singular focus, even though you guys offer
yes,
multiple things. But that's the thing where, again, these companies, like, say you or whatever, if you were like, hey, I want to get into this market or this market, you could easily hire or take someone who's been with you 5, 10 years and be like, they are super passionate about stickers. Like, hey, you're the new manager, you're the head of this department. Then you don't have to think about it. They order the machines, they figure it out, they run it, they're passionate about it, and then they grow it. And then the first thing you do is like, hey, I need security control. I'm going to have them hire 2 people and train them to where 3 people all know the same thing. So if
Yeah.
Ted decides he doesn't like you anymore, you have 2 more people that know everything Ted knew.
I couldn't agree more, and I feel like this podcast hits home because it's at a stage where after 15 years in the business and working really hard to achieve where we want to go and grow and always in the mentality like, all right, what's next? You get those realizations and you mature a bit, right? But
Yeah,
when you
for sure.
start, and I'm only 29, so I'm still young. I started when I was young, but it's it's not that mentality that you have when you start. So if you're listening to this and you only have one manual screen printing press,
You need to be
dude,
fucking beaten. That's
yeah,
the only
Yeah.
no,
way to
Yeah.
say it.
exactly. No, and
Yeah.
it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to scale down when you're a small team than to scale down when you're fucking 50 people, right? You feel that pressure and like like right now it's fun. Like I don't go to sleep very early. Like I sleep about 3 or 4 hours a night because it's crunch time for us. So and I mean I'm energized. I text Zach at like 11:50 at night. Like I don't care because it's fun to have that pressure because I know everybody can have food on the table, right?
Yeah.
There's no pressure to pay anything.
But that's what I
So
said. When you're
that's
busy, it's gravy. It's awesome. Like, I'd rather work till
exactly.
2 in the morning every night because I'm busy. But if you were dead right now, you would be like, dude,
Oh, fuck. It's the worst feeling ever, right? It's like it's a big building, it's a lot of staff, a lot of pressure, a lot of equipment. But that's what I signed up for. So it's okay and I have to be creative and I have to work through that and push through and make it happen. So I think I'm smart enough to have it. I don't think it's cut out for everybody, but I think being able to do it with my dad and my brother allows me to have that pressure and we can talk to each other and make it to where it's feasible, right? And I
that's
mean,
awesome.
yeah,
It's so funny
it's
because I actually went through the exact same thing, Dylan, like from a dealer side of things. Like since I've joined this company, I've never had time really to make cold calls. Like we're just so busy handling leads that coming in, dealing with our current clientele. We're always chasing our tail. We're always like struggling to get quotes out. And naturally you're gonna complain. It's like, oh my God, I never have any like a minute to do anything. Like if I have a 5 minute lunch break, I'm lucky, right? And for the first time ever, like 2.5, 3 months ago, there was like a weird like period, 2 to 3 weeks. It's like when interest rates are at the all-time high, people were expecting them to come down, so nobody was really buying. And for the first time ever, and I think it's like 7 years now, I sat there. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? And I'm like, I'm literally calling up clients. I'm like, hey man, how's it going? You need any machines? Like it was so weird for me to have to try and go out and like look for work, and it did not feel good, and it didn't. And now 2 3 months later, like we've never been busier, and I just appreciate. And every time I get like a little bit overwhelmed, I'm like, dude, it's way better than like coming in and not knowing where you're going to find work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, it's on that kind of same plane that you guys are at. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, so, switching gears a little bit. So you've said, hey, you know what? I'm not really ready to jump into DTF printing myself. Technology is constantly changing. I need to have consistency for X number of years. But one thing that obviously you could focus on is how to improve your heat pressing. Your speed. I don't know if obviously some people start with single presses, and then they go to duals. Sean's a really big fan of running stampinators. He runs 2 stampinators on his, and I don't know what he's pumping, but like 400 units an hour. So you got 3 autos, right? Do you have the capacity to turn one of those into a full-time or part-time, DTF high-speed transfer system? Is it something that you're looking at? Like, where are you at with that?
Already doing it. Yeah, we
You
have
are.
we have a 6/8 sporty that we are putting. Literally yesterday, the electrician finished. So we got the power for 2 stamps, and we got a drop down for 110 for like our laser systems.
Nice.
We're gonna put in a projector as well, so we can project the image down on the garment. Yeah, it's something that's a work in progress for us right now. We again, like, we don't print the DTF here, but we get more and more because our niche market is like these comic book shops or these big comic book companies or these artists that want these high color jobs. But the thing is more and more the way the market is going, if you walk into Zoomies or Hot Topic or whatever in the mall or even Target, half of the designs are a transfer. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, now we're getting companies that come to us that's like, hey, this comic book artist, wants a signature line at our, studio, whatever. And they're like, I want 500 shirts, but I want to do DTF. Like, they're requesting it. So we're like, okay, cool. Like, let's do it. But the problem is I don't want to sit there on an MEM shuttle and do 500 shirts back and forth like this. I want to load it on the auto and have 2 stamps hit it, 5 seconds, come around, take it off, and it's done. So, and our printers too, like we've kind of had it where we've pulled printers off or whatever to go do stuff on the shuttles, and they're kind of hating loading on those.
Yeah.
Because of the stuff underneath and the awkwardness of it and whatever. They want to load on a pallet. Like, they're used to doing this all day long. They want to load on a pallet. So it's like, it's kind of a no-brainer to do the DTF auto where they're loading like normal, they're pulling off like normal. All the only difference is they're placing a transfer on the machine. And like Rock has the cool new thing where it's, loading and unloading and whatever, but like, I don't need that. I can load it by hand. Like, I don't need a specific cut sheet at a certain length so that it can peel right. Like, I get what they're doing. It's awesome. If you were, Nike and you were doing DTF and you were like, I'm doing 500,000 units all day. Yeah, it makes sense to have an auto loader and unloader and all this other stuff. But if my guys are just jumping from a 12 color screen print to, hey, the next job is 500 pieces DTF, they'll just go to the other auto and they'll just load and transfer and peel and no dryer, done. Like, stack it, good, job's done. So I
Dylan,
think it's
so what I'm hearing is that you don't need the avocado peeler 3500.
No, you need your fucking hands, Zach. Jesus, relax. If you could sell me my hands back to me, you would.
That's so true. So you're gonna run 2 guys on that press. So one's
probably one
yeah.
if it's like a normal size order, it's 20 pieces, 50 pieces, 100 pieces, whatever. If it's like 500 pieces, yeah, we'll do 250, 500, 1,000, whatever. We'll do 2 people.
How are you gonna have it placed? So the guy's placing the shirt, he's gonna place the artwork on top, right? It's gonna run, it's gonna stamp, and then who's peeling?
So there's two methods here. One is to do just 1 stamp for a small order, or even 2 stamps where it's just stamp, so your dwell is less. So if you had 2 stamps, you could do like a 5 second, come around, peel, but then you're spinning again for the post press. If you were doing a high volume, I would do head 1 is a stamp and head, 5 is a stamp, and then in between 1 and 5 is a person peeling. So then you're doing press, post press, and then when it comes around, there's a person taking it off. So
that's how we do it.
It's just going to be quantity based. Like, like I said, if you get a 25 piece DTF order, there's no need for me to do 2 stamps and someone peeling. It's like, just fucking spin the thing. It's still going to be way faster than a shuttle, way easier to load.
100. It's a lot more fun to run too.
Yeah. So that's the method now. It's just what I really want to dial in is like, okay, let's get the laser system good. I want to make sure placements are perfect. I don't want it to be a thing where they're just grabbing transfers and throwing it on and they're all slightly crooked and weird. I'd rather have it be like, okay, here's a projected image or a grid laser, which I bought recently, to where placements are good, everything looks good. That quality is my concern. It's not the speed or what can I get out. It's how
Yeah.
can we make sure that the customer is getting the best quality for that product is all.
Yeah, that's what we have. Like we have a protector on top of a platen. So we actually preheat the first shirt, so remove the moisture. So we have three stamps on our machine. So the first one is to preheat, and then we have an open station with a projector, and it only has like lines of like a left chest, right, 3.5 from the center, so it's color
Yeah, yeah.
centered, and then we have center lines from here going down to like 6 inches. So it's, every single one is an inch down. So it's super simple and easy to place. So I don't want to project the image. I just want to project those lines. So they're just placing the artwork and it rolls around, stamps, peels, and then
Yeah, I want
last
both. I want the
press.
laser and the projected image. The only reason why I say projected image is I really like what Stalls has going with the projector over the heat presses. And I got talking to them a little bit, and I'd like to get their unit if they're willing to offer it as far as for the auto. But if they are not, I'm sure I could just go get like, you've seen those like everyone sees it on like Instagram and Amazon where it's like an actual projector for like your kids' room where they can watch
Yeah,
Netflix on their ceiling or whatever. Like I just want
yeah,
that, and then I could
but they
just go
make
from an
them.
iPad to that to the palette and done.
They make them. The thing I look at in Vegas, I looked at the stalls machine, and the reason why I don't think it makes sense for us, to be honest, is just stalls heat press. Like we had four, and two of them are running now, and everything else is just like they're not made to be run every single day. Their pallets are wobbly,
Yeah,
they move.
I'm not talking the heat press. I'm just talking the projector system.
Yeah, yeah, that would be cool to have because their projector system, I think, is pretty dialed.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If I can just get the projector system,
Yeah,
run it from like black iron from the ceiling, so it's always in the same
yep.
spot. We got it measured down to where on a 1622 pallet, it's exactly an inch. The artwork's exactly where it's supposed to be. So my art department can lay out that 1622 grid with the artwork on it. So when I hit
Yeah,
on the projector, it's exactly where it's got to
it'd
go.
be sim. Yeah, it'd be simple to make for
Yeah.
sure.
So
You
that's
just
what
have to sell it.
I'm trying to do. Yeah.
It's a
Knowing
smart
me, I'll
move.
just tell everybody where to buy the parts on Amazon, and then everyone's gonna have the thing.
No, no, just tell Zach. Zach's gonna sell the world.
Yeah, he's gonna call it the
Um,
fucking Projectorator 3000.
but yeah, exactly. I'm actually I am working on a solution right now that is like agnostic, so you could put on heat presses or autos. So we're looking at a couple options right now with the projector system. So I'll keep you in the loop. I mean, it's not an easy thing. And in regards to, for example, you projecting it, like what's your plan? Like, are you gonna scan something in and it's gonna project it with the location? Like, have you thought about it that far?
Well, I mean, it's just the artwork that we're sending to the DTF anyway. Like we have the artwork. It's just putting it on an art board that's the same width and length of the palette
Yeah.
to where we're just
So
placing
Zach,
it's like right now where we're sending artwork to the laser, it's on the
yeah.
screen where we want it to print. I'm doing the exact same thing. It's just the actual artwork to where I don't
What are
have to
you
look at where I'm placing the artwork on the shirt.
what are you running right now for shop management software? Is it Printavo?
No, we don't use any shop
No.
management software. You know why? Because I just
And
do screen printing.
yeah, that's a fair point. Fair point. But Zach, what I was gonna say is like he doesn't need to scan anything, right? They're like the team at on press can just he opens the job, like whether it's an iPad or he has his sheet,
Right.
and he just clicks on the image that the art team prepped and it's gonna project automatically because they're doing 25 shirts, they're doing 500 shirts, they don't mind about the speed of scanning, boom, popping up like like Bring On Demand like we do, right? It's different.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would
yeah.
just be that one image per job. Like again, I would probably just go Google Drive, pull up the artwork,
Yeah,
drops it down, done.
yeah, that's simple to do. Man, simpling down businesses by doing something that you like and you're good at is the
Fuck
way to
yeah, dude,
go.
it's awesome. I could spend half my day doing fucking podcasts with you guys.
Exactly. You got me on the other spectrum of like, yeah, fucking offer everything. Let's go.
Hey, dude, if it works for you, all by all means. If it's what makes you fucking get your rocks
Yeah,
off, then do it. I don't care. I just
I like it.
yeah, I'm all for it if you're for it. Like the hustle. That's the thing though too, is like the downside of what I was talking about is you get everything dialed, you get all your systems in place, you get the employees you want, whatever. Now I'm kind of bored. You know what I mean? Like the place runs itself. Like yeah, there's things to do all the time, but like loved when I had to do the building I own is an old train station. Like it's me and my dad renovated the whole thing, and we just finished it this year, like with
Nice.
literally renovating the whole thing. But that was something I look forward to all the time. Is like, cool, we're doing this part of the renovation. Like when you're building, if you change something,
Yeah,
it's exciting. You're like,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
see the vision of it.
100%.
I can whatever. Now that I don't have that, I'm like, I need something to scratch that itch of like I'm working on something new. So like right now, this DTF thing is like a little itch for me where I'm like, cool, I get to play around with it and make it work and like be happy with this and
No, but I
whatever.
think I think that's awesome, and it's reasonable growth, right? Because it's one thing that you can handle at a time. It's not like I'm throwing you 25 things and be like, all right, find a solution for everything, as well at the same time as don't forget to create new designs for holiday specials and create bundles,
Well,
make an online like
the point to that
it's
too is
that,
it's
right?
like, hey, I need you to learn this real quick because there's a job that requires this that has to go out next Thursday, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Like I want to do it and then offer it in January. That hey, we can do this faster now because we figured this out and had the time to mess around with it.
No, I agree. That's smart.
Hey, Dylan, I got one for you. I know you're a big butter knife guy, and you're not into
Oh
the
fuck yeah, butter knives
avocado.
all day long.
You're not into the avocado 3500, but so I mean, obviously, traditionally in screen printing, you can get a desktop film printer for like 300-400 bucks, and then you print your film, and then you coat it, and and away you go. But you got the avocado 3500 when it comes to direct to screen with your Sati
Fuck yeah,
laser,
no
which Sean
brainer,
does.
no
So
brainer.
so what made you throw away what made you throw away that butter knife? Because it's almost 100 G's, right, for that
That's
setup.
not
So why did the butter knife
that's not
not
a
cut it?
that's not throwing away a butter knife. That's getting a silver butter knife.
Someone feed you with
Oh,
it.
hey, hey, being realistic, I think it's trying to cut a steak with a butter knife, and then you actually buy a steak knife.
Right? Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what it is,
yeah.
right? The laser machine is the true steak knife. You buy a
Well,
real Japanese steak knife.
the thing
Yeah. So
is
Dylan,
that
walk me through that. Why? What sales guy was able to convince you to drop 100 G's on a laser?
no sales
How did
guy
he get
was.
it done? You figured it
Honestly,
on your own.
I was pitched a bunch of times over a couple of years, and same thing, skeptical. The reason that makes me want to buy equipment like that is, again, like we talked about, is I'm way down on consumables, which makes a ton of sense. It's less consumables I have to buy. I was burned and bitten and kicked in the balls by other CTS where print heads were an issue, humidity was an issue, user error was an issue, maintenance was an issue, and then also we're big on quality and we want to make sure we have the best prints possible. So when I went to a show or I went to another friend's shop that had it and I saw under a microscope a perfect dot, not a paintball splotchy dot on a screen, instantly that dot got me hard. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And then the consumables alone was like, cool. I love not buying ink or wax or whatever every other week. And then the maintenance on the thing is just like, oh, like make sure the lasers aren't dusty. And then the other thing too,
But
for my shop alone, I live in upstate New York where we have a lot of brownouts and power issues. Well, with the other machines, you have to leave them on all the time because they have to warm the print heads and this and this. We would fry things all the time because we'd have a brownout issue or whatever. You know what I can do with this laser? I shut it off and I go home.
That's a
I
good
don't have to leave
point.
anything on. I don't have to do whatever. So
Hey,
it's
hey,
energy efficient.
yeah.
It's fucking no consumables and it's super user friendly and it makes the perfect fucking screen. Like to me that's the like Sean was saying, I upgraded to a steak knife. Still got one knife. I don't have 35 tools. I just got the right tool for the right job.
now Zach is going to clip this, and that's going to be the sales pitch for the LTS
No, no,
machine.
no. I'm thinking something different. I'm thinking of pulling in Dylan. I'm actually installing a Sati laser. It's already there. We're installing 2 weeks from now. Keith Perkins is coming up. Actually, next week we're going to see a bunch of shops, do a little site survey. So I'm excited for that one. I mean, there's not a lot of Sati lasers in Canada. There's probably four, maybe five, but two of them are graphics guys. But no, I was thinking like anytime I get a lead, I'm gonna get Dylan in and have him come and do his song and dance and get it closed.
Hey,
And then
there's no song and dance. I'm fucking sitting here in this chair.
I'm gonna send him a set of butter knives
Perfect. I would love all the butter knives.
as a kickback. As a kickback.
I just think it's one of those things again, like Sean was saying, is like I know other people listen to this, I know whatever, and I was a printer, and again, I was a kid who fucking struggled hard to get to where I am. And when I hear things like this of like, holy shit, I would love to not be punched in the face a few times. Like, it'd be nice if it was a few less times. I'm more than happy to be like, hey, it is $100,000 price tag. That does suck. But you know what? It's worth it. Like, it's way worth it. Like, be like, hey, would you? Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it makes total sense.
To help defend your point to Zach is like you're perfecting your craft, right? So it's not like you're having like that's what you said. You don't have 35 knives, right? You just switched the knife that was broken for a better knife, right? And it's perfecting your own craft. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go and get something else for another department or another offering. It's like, how can we become better in what we do? It's perfecting what you already have, and you're creating the volume for it. It's just making it better.
Well,
So
it's
I
what
think that
Zach said earlier too, of like, you buy a cheaper unit or you buy whatever, and your headaches of, oh well, I've got, let's say for example, the difference from going to film to a say a iMage or whatever is you're losing the glass on your exposure unit. The difference from this to this, you might be like, oh well, I had to spend $40,000, $50,000 on an iMage, but you know what? How much time are you saving from taping off pinholes in your screens because you had dirty glass? Like, that alone, just the stupid thing of someone sneezing on glass is saving you so much time and money and downtime on a press, or shirts you have to redo because pinholes made it onto every shirt and the customer got them and there's dots everywhere. Like, that stupid statistic alone is worth the money.
agree.
So you're eliminating all these headaches by the higher price tag. You're just paying for it now instead of paying for it in labor and issues and downtime later. Which, if you really added all that up for ROI, you'd be like, cool, I paid this machine off in a year because I had so much less downtime.
And that's
Customers are happier. My team is happier. Everything rolls smoother.
Right, exactly.
I was literally about to say that with when you mentioned the ROI. The nice thing about something like the Sati laser is it comes down to math, and math doesn't lie. I tell my customers, what are you paying per gallon? What are you paying your screen guy? How many screens are you doing an hour? What are you paying in film? And you just plug it in, and it's like, boom, you're gonna, make the monthly payment on this lease if you don't have the cash, and you're gonna put $600 a month in your pocket. Whereas some things, like if you say, okay, well, let's look at like a Cobra or a G4, that's a harder way to justify, it's going to be this much more, that you're going to be saving every single month because of that, right? It's one of those machines, even like auto reclaims, it's one of those things where it's more math driven. And then it's just like, you basically ask the customer, it's like, hey, dude, you're going to make your payments and put $600 a month in your pocket. Do you like money? If you like money, then buy it. Right. You know what I mean?
But the other part of that though too is, I know the new machines like the Cobra and the G4 are like new machines. It's like, do I just need the new machine? But those ones have new technology on it, where again, it's such a time saver. So if you're a shop that does, 10 color, 8 color, 12 color, whatever, like high color count jobs, that machine makes perfect sense, because have you ever had a screen pop or an issue where you had one screen that had lower tension than other ones? Well, what happens is you sit there and you tri-lock all 12 screens, you get it all lined up, and you realize head number 8 doesn't want to line up, or the screen popped midway through the job. You know what you got to do now is you got to take that screen out, you got to put a new one in, and you got to re-tri-lock 12 screens, because now the 8th one's not going to line up anywhere near all the other ones. But now they have that tri-sync pallet arm where it clicks in, and there's no wiggle room, where you can just throw the new screen in, put it in head 8, and you're back to going because they're all lined up.
No way. I
So
didn't
there's
know
no
that. That's
downtime.
cool.
Because
That's
like
awesome.
now on like, are you running M&Rs or are you running rocks, Sean?
Box.
Okay, so on an M&R, if you put the pallet on, and I don't know how rocks lock
Lock
in.
locks.
On the M&R, there's four yellow tabs underneath that are just tension that hold the pallet arm in. So if you slide the registration
Trilock
pallet, the
patent.
Trilock
Yeah.
pallet in, and you spin the knobs, it's locking it in wherever it kind of landed because there's a little bit of wiggle room. So if you lock that in and you do all 12 where it's slightly cocked a little bit one way, and then you take that pallet arm off, as soon as you took that off and put it back on, it's going to be in a different
Yeah.
spot. So that's what
Tweaked
I'm
it.
saying is you're doing a 12 color sim process where you can't
Got
see.
it.
It's not like spot colors here and there. It's like dots everywhere.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to line head to 8 up again. You're going to have to re-trilock every one up again. And how hard is it to re-line up a job when there's ink in every screen already mixed in?
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's the
It's a
worst.
huge pain in the ass. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They have an arm now where they lock the pallet in and it literally locks in. Like there's no
Clips
wiggle
in.
room. There's no nothing to where you can just lock in that new screen and go. It's done. And
Yeah,
that's
and
only
that's on
one
the
That's
feature.
awesome.
Like that's just
yeah.
one new thing. But
Yeah.
that alone is like, fuck, now I need that press because I would
Massive.
save downtime on press. You know, you do knock out one screen like that and you have to re-register everything. Say that's 15 minutes. Okay, you do one of those a day or one of those every other day. What does that add up to at the end of the year?
Yeah, big.
So
Yeah.
that's where it's a better butter knife, not a a fucking peeler 9000 or whatever the fuck it is.
Dylan, you I think you got it in you to be a great sales guy. You want to come up to
I
Canada?
am a fucking sales guy. I've been doing this shit for forever.
On the equipment side of things.
I just love this shit. I research this shit.
Yeah,
This is
he's
what I want to
passionate.
do.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, you're passionate and you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
you talk from what you know and you've used it, so it's easy to sell because you know like what
Yeah.
you're talking about, right?
Yep.
No, for sure.
Hey, just as a tip, I got like 17 minutes.
True. You have to leave at 4:30. All right, then. I got one more. I think I can gain some knowledge on you on this one. It's been fun, but every business owner has their challenges, right? I've had mine and I'm still struggling with some. But what's the most difficult thing you had to go through with upstate merch? Or maybe something you're still going through? Like, yeah.
As far as
Just a challenge. Maybe it was just
Business
growing
challenge.
with the team. Yeah, business challenge. Maybe it was hiring more people, putting SOPs in place. What KPIs did I run? Things like that, right? Like for me, that's some of the troubles that we had. Hiring or sales.
well, to play on that a little bit, we were pretty fortunate where I started upstate when basically social media started, when MySpace started. Um, not upstate, but the company I had before, and then I rode that for forever because that's what I knew. I had basically hired my best friends right off the bat, which I had great best friends. Well, still have great best friends. Still with me today. That's always been great. Like we've worked together, awesome. They're my managers. They handle the place. Like couldn't ask for better human beings. That's all well and good, but the problem is after them, you start hiring just random human beings. Like you have whatever. So for say 12 years, I was used to, hey, I have this business I built with my buddies. We fuck around. Like if you know anything about my shop, you know, like we have basketball hoop out front. We grill on Wednesdays. We fucking play video games at night. We have like LAN parties and like everything else. We like to just have fun, but it's not work related. We're just here to make money during the day, but it's like kind of like a clubhouse basically. Well,
Yeah.
that's all well and good when it's you and your buddies, but when you start adding other people who are just other people, it gets to be where they look at it as cool. I can also just fuck around too, and I can like take advantage of time, and I can do this and this. So basically, around year 12, it got to the point where I, as an owner and as a responsible person, kind of had to grow up a little bit and be like, all right, I need a handbook, I need SOPs, I need this and this and this, because I kept feeling like I was getting taken advantage of on lots of aspects. So I think the hardest thing for me as a business owner, being in it for the craft, in it for the fun, in it for the art, is being an actual fucking robot business person. And I say that, I try to say that in a nice way of like, I actually had to grow up and do my homework a little bit and not just fuck around.
Yeah.
Was doing that, and in doing that, we kind of had a purge where it was like, all right, say we have 15 employees, well, 5 of them don't like the new rules and don't want to not sit around and drink coffee all day. They want to, I have to have them actually work. We just had to let them go, and we found out after that that we were way more efficient with less people. We found out that these rules actually helped us structure things better. A lot of headaches went away. Things kind of fell into place. But being that, it was a very difficult time of like just drama and stress of like dialing in the new team with the old team to where we were all on the same page. So I think it's all fun and games, and you can grow the company and you can make money and do what you want, but you really should put that stuff into place. That was the lesson I learned, is I should have put that shit in place on year 3, not year 15.
That's exactly what I was going to say. To your point, everyone's like, I started with my business, my business with my buddies, my cousin, whatever. And it's all fun and games, right? You try to make money, but you want to have fun doing it. And then this, company culture is created. And then, like you said, once you grow, you're like, I have to be more efficient if I want my business to succeed. And then doing that, like, pivot and changing your company culture when you have people that are used to it being a certain way, and then they're like, hey man, like, why can't we just, smoke every, hour and a half anymore? Like, why do we have to do that? And you're like, oh, well, there's yeah. You're like,
that
well,
was literally one of the biggest problems we had, is we had these people that would like smoke weed. And again, I don't give a shit if you smoke weed, but like, you need to smoke weed after work, like not during work. Like, well, they were blazing up before they came into work. They were blazing up on lunch, and they were just high during the day. I'm like, these machines can cut people in half. Like, I know, you guys cannot be doing this at work. So the funny thing is we had a sit down with them, and we're like, hey, like, again, I don't have an issue with this, but you have to not be high at work. Like, it's that simple. Yeah. You need to stop smoking at work. So you know what they did is the next day when they came in, they just did edibles instead, because they weren't smoking. Yeah. They were doing edibles, and I was just like, you guys are fucking morons. Like, yeah, exactly. You cannot.
If you have feet, you took a meter.
Right, like you just took the technical word that I said, smoke, and we're like, I'm just going to do an edible instead, and it's like, all right, you have to go. Like,
then your employees who start off as your buddies, like, now they're pissed off at you, and then they hate the new guy because he thinks, oh, it's because of the new guy now that we have to have these rules. So it becomes challenging, and it's not just in terms of things like smoking. Like, for example, you go to some shops and they're like completely filthy, disgusting. Like, I've seen 2-year-old gauntlets that look like they're 30 years old. It's brutal. And I have shops who are like, hey, I have a smaller shop. I want to get into screen printing. But when I go into shops, they look disgusting. How do I stop that? And I said, from day one, you need to set the precedent that we don't fuck around here. You drop ink, you clean it up. You get some ink on the press, you stop, you clean it up. If you don't build those, policies and procedures from day one, it's so hard to change. And it's hard when your shop is disgusting and everyone's used to being a slob to now it's too late to clean it up. I mean, there's dry web, everywhere. It's disgusting. Plastic's all over the floor. You have to start it from day one.
This is a note that I've had on my shirt show notes for forever. There's things that I like come across that I'm like, oh, this is an interesting topic that I kind of want to keep as a seed if the conversation ever comes up. And you just fucking brought it up, so I'm going to talk about it now. There's this thing called the Malcolm Gladwell principle, which is like known as broken window, whereas like if there's signs of disorder, it leads to more disorder. So like if you were to walk by your place of business and you see a broken window, you're like, okay, well, the owner doesn't care that much that this window is broken. He's not going to care so much that this broom handle's broken. And then it leads to, well, if they don't care if those two things are broken, then who cares if the door handle's busted off? And then it just spirals into more and more shit. So it's the same with the ink. Is like, if you get ink on the floor, you get ink on the press, it needs to be wiped up right then and there, because if you leave it there, the mentality of the person who walks by is like, well, that ink's been there for 2 days. They're not going to care if I got a little bit of splatter over here. and then that plus the splatter leads to another splatter to another splatter to another splatter, and then eventually it's just common practice that nobody gives a shit if there's splatter anywhere. So that's the reason why you start off in the beginning of like, I want, like, sometimes people are like, well, why are you painting the wall? And it's like, well, because it was dingy and like it didn't look good. It's not because I'm vain and I just want everything to be sparkly. Like, if I don't paint this wall, it's going to look like hell, and then eventually the floors are going to look like hell, and then eventually the dryer is going to be covered in ink and whatever else. It's like, I want to make sure that everything here is as top notch as possible, because I want everyone to be proud that they work in a nice, clean environment, to where if they drop ink on the floor, they wipe it up, because it's like, this is like my house. Like, that, why would I fucking leave that there? It makes no sense.
Yeah. You
So
nailed
anyway,
it, buddy.
Malcolm Gladwell. Sorry.
Yeah, you lead by example, right? And I think we have a great company culture here because we put a lot of time and effort into those things, right? So I go into the shop in the back and like I see something on the floor. It might be paper, it might be whatever. I pick it up and I go throw it in the garbage. It's not like, hey, you got to clean this up. Like, why is it there? No, I'm part of the team, right? It's not because I lead it and I can't do it. I lead by example, and that's what we've always thought and always done, right? So, and to emphasize on your point, and a lot of people might understand this even more is like a lot of people that say they want to get fit or they want to lose weight, they're like, okay, I'm going to follow like a specific diet, right? And then they follow the diet for 3, 4 weeks, they start losing weight, and they're like, okay, I'm going to have a cheat meal. And now they start having cheat meal, and they're like, oh, it didn't show anything, right? Oh, I'm not getting any weight back. So
It's
they
okay
go
for me to have
and
two
have a
cheat
bit.
meals, or a little bit more, a
Yep,
little bit more. Yeah.
yep. So I mean, it's the same principle,
You're
just
talking to a
like what
fat
you
kid. I
said.
know exactly what you're saying. I fall down the same rabbit hole. It's okay. It's daily for me.
No, but like, hey, if you wanted to eliminate that, then never go on a diet. It's just like I call it the celery test. Like you're smart. You know what you should put in your body and whatnot. Same thing like in your shop. You know what you should do and shouldn't do, right? But you need to have those guidelines. And at a certain point, as a team grows, you need a bit of emotional intelligence to be able to handle that and handle certain situations to wrap people around it and make it to where everybody's comfortable.
Again, to reiterate, I like to do what I want. So I like the food that I eat, and I just keep doing it.
Exactly.
Same way. I'm the same way, man. Sean is like insane discipline. So, anyways, to wrap up, Dylan, before you do your InkPod podcast mic drop, is there anything new in store for Upstate merch or the shirt show that we should keep our eyes peeled for?
I think for Upstate, it's kind of just doing the same old. We're cruising. We're doing good. We're always looking to make better prints, do cooler stuff. I don't really have any big like earth-shattering news. I think with Shirt Show, we're always trying to do same thing, do new cool stuff, trying to keep it fresh with that. We do have our big, if you've been at ISS over the last couple of years, I think this is our third or fourth big happy hour on Thursday. So it's like our party Thursday, rock party Friday. So if anybody wants to come out, we will announce that soon. American Apparel and Live Nation sponsor it, so it'll be bands and food and hangs. Other than
We'll
that, I
both
don't
be
really
there.
have anything. I'm just here fucking around talking about screen printing. So if anyone ever wants to talk, I'm open. I'm here to do it. DM me.
Hey, well, listen, like we had a blast. I mean, your podcast for me, inspired me to want to do this with Sean. I thought it was something really cool and something new that wasn't really in the industry. So I could probably say that,
You gotta represent Canada.
yeah, man, we got to get something
Yeah,
going
dude,
on up
eh?
here.
Hey, yeah.
Right, eh?
Fucking
And
poutine. You guys should just eat poutine on the episode all day long.
all day. Yo, you know what we got to do? We have to do we have
That'd be a
we
cheat
have to
meal
do a
and we have
shirt
to start
show
eating more.
event. Yeah, we got to do a shirt show event in Canada. That's something we got to
Oh
do.
yeah.
We got to plan.
Just
Be
gotta
fun.
Get our heads
just gotta come
together.
up to Canada.
Do it with that. Yeah, we'll do it up with M&R. You know, we'll do a. We're talking about doing another M&R event last year. We did one in January, and it was great. But maybe doing one in conjunction with a shirt show could be really cool, and maybe get some Americans up here for once.
Hell yeah. Zach, I'll reach out to you soon. We talked about the embroidery stuff. I'd like to pick your brain more about that. So
Sure, I'm here, man. I'm here.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank
Sean,
you very much for your
I
time.
appreciate you doing this, and I'm gonna talk to you next week.
No, I'm excited,
You're in the
man. That's
fucking
gonna be
hot seat
fun.
next week.
Yeah. All right.
Bye
Take care,
guys.
guys.
Have fun.
Take care. See ya.